board this evening. Among his many other responsibilities, Minister Ceasar oversees agriculture in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, so he is responsible for the island's medicinal cannabis industry, an industry that some regard as the most inclusive cannabis industry in the world. Joining us from Antigua and Barbuda is the head of retail sales at Grow Antigua and Barbuda, Zack Hadeed. Grow Antigua and Barbuda Limited is the first fully licensed medical cannabis company on the island. And joining us from Jamaica is the former head of Jamaica's Cannabis Licensing Authority, cannabis advocate Levaungh Flynn. Levaungh Flynn. And of course, I gotta say welcome to the team that's with us here this evening. Otto, what's going on? Let me put in our Otto immediately and let's draw the line up and get our guests on the inside.
All right, Sonny, it's a pleasure to be here this afternoon, and again, congratulations to your daughter on this most important time of her life. Today we are having a show where we're going to discuss a lot of what is happening in the regional industry. I know that some of these countries are far ahead in regards to they already set up their industries, unlike Trinidad and Tobago, where we are still in the stage of setting up the Cannabis Licensing Authority. So I know today we have some insightful conversations, and definitely a lot of our listeners will learn a lot as to what is happening. This is not just a Trinidad thing and what we are doing here, but to basically have an inclusive approach and look as to what is happening in the region. So I mean, that is what we are about today, and definitely we hope that we can leave you with some level discussion that can have so many takeaways that could enlighten and educate the population.
All right, so we have with us already online with us here Minister out of St. Vincent. He's with us here as well. Also Zack out of Antigua, Grow Antigua and Barbuda. They're both already online, so let's patch them in and say good evening and welcome them to the program.
Yeah, good evening, Minister. This is Kia Thomas from Heights. How are you doing?
Peace and love, greetings from blessed St. Vincent and the Grenadines. It's definitely a pleasure and an honor to be on with you this evening, and I'm looking forward to an excellent program. Greetings also to my brother from Antigua and Barbuda and representative from Jamaica. I am so missing Trinidad and Tobago, a place that I lived for a while when I studied law at the Grenadines Law School. But it is one region, and I'm happy to really have an interesting conversation so that we can get to have a better appreciation as to what is taking place in our region.
Certainly. Thank you so much. Now, tell us, I'm sure we are all excited to know, and again, congratulations to the development of where St. Vincent is, pertaining to the cannabis industry. Tell us, what is the situation now with the cannabis industry in St. Vincent? Last year in our first season, you spoke about the new opportunities that are ahead of you. What's happening now with St. Vincent and the cannabis industry?
Yes, so I just want to begin with some reflections, because it's always good to understand where we're coming from so that we can have a better appreciation as to where we are now and chart the way forward. We all recall when the whole world was moving towards cannabis and some the legalization, some the decriminalization, and some countries were focusing on a medicinal wellness industry. Some countries went all the way, and there were great movements with Canada and Uruguay. And in the Caribbean, the first movers were the government and people of Jamaica. St. Vincent and the Grenadines was a close second. And I can recall when we were putting our legislative framework together, we looked closely and analyzed closely the legislative framework from Jamaica. And I'm certain that those persons who came after Jamaica and St. Vincent and the Grenadines benefited from the platforms which were already established, and they were able to take out of both the best practices. In St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we have a modern medicinal wellness industry with two major targets. One, the exportation of cannabis to source markets which are seeking to purchase cannabis for wellness. And in country, we have a wellness platform whereby if someone has an ailment, and there's a list of ailments, that they can go and seek the advice of a doctor, and the doctor can prescribe the usage of cannabis for the ailments. We have seen over the past year whereby we had 32 volcanic eruptions, and we all had COVID. We all had COVID, and we all had different types of lockdowns and restrictions. And this definitely created a negative impact on the cannabis industry. You had investors in the country who had invested significant sums and basically were not in a position to further invest because of the restrictions which were put in place because of the COVID-19 pandemic. In fact, I am certain, for example, the situation of Antigua and Barbuda, which has an excellent tourism sector. With COVID, we basically had a very dry period. So in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we had very little movement of people during the COVID pandemic, and cannabis sales were significantly reduced. What was more though was that the heavy ash cover impacted all the greenhouses.
Wow.
So we had probably close to $2.5 million worth in damage and loss to the cannabis industry in some Grenadines. The traditional cultivators who were doing open field had their fields totally destroyed because the ash covered their fields. And the investors, the foreign direct investors who had their massive greenhouses and greenhouses, when you had 5,000 pounds of ash on that plastic, after a while it just caved in, and they had to start all over again. But there are some persons who were not able to start, and there are some companies that call it a day. In country, we have approximately 5 big companies that are still advancing the cause, and we have 300 traditional cultivators. I will rest there because I've spoken a bit about the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, the impact of the Lasso-Frere eruptions, and it will be remiss of me before I pause, if I don't pause to thank the government and people of Jamaica for their assistance with seeds, and also the government and people of Antigua and Barbuda. You have been calling, finding out what's going on with us. I'm really definitely grateful, and also the government and people of Trinidad and Tobago, where some of our investors are from Trinidad and Tobago. You're all ready to assist our farmers with seeds, with fertilizer, and we are in the rebuilding process. One thing I can promise everyone on this program, and I can promise the world, is that we are going to rebuild and we will be stronger, and we are going to come out of this as stronger.
Wow, Minister Ceasar, that's some heavy stuff. But what I want to do, I want to introduce Zack Hadeed, the retail manager at Grow Antigua and Barbuda. You know, Zack, I mean, people see Grow Antigua and Barbuda, and I mean, the structure of the organization. I know it's hybrid. I know, tell us a bit about yourself, and then we will always bring back Minister Ceasar in as we have a dialogue as to what is happening in the region to discuss cannabis.
Definitely. Thank you guys for having me on the show tonight. Excited to be on Heights. Excited to be speaking with my fellow Caribbean colleagues in the cannabis industry. Minister Honorable Saboto Ceasar, good to finally, I think, get to meet you. I think we've had some email communication between our companies. So it's good to see all three of us up here getting to talk, you know, because as you were saying, it's coming to a stage in this Caribbean industry where we all have to play together to make sure that it progresses in the way that we want it to. And I'll get into that a little bit. But as you introduced me, I'm our retail director here at Grow Antigua and Barbuda. And we are the first licensed medicinal cannabis cultivation dispensary. We also have a lounge license that is operating here in Antigua at the moment. We do have obviously a few other licensees that will begin later on in the year. But being the first, we definitely saw in our vision to make sure that as the first, you know, it was an opportunity to give back to both the country and those that have been oppressed by the industry over the last 30, 40 years here in the Caribbean. So when we founded the company, the late Andrew Moody Stewart, Jamaican by descent, he decided as an entrepreneur looking to get into cannabis that it was only right for us to structure the company where 25% was given to the people of Antigua and Barbuda via our national asset management company that is a wing of the government that ensures, any of these assets held there profit back to the economy. So that was the first part, but really the major impactful moment was when we brought on board, we joined 2 Rastafarian churches here in Antigua. We have a Nyabingi Theocratic Church that many refer to as Big Creek, and then we have another sect that is referred to as Ras Freeman. And for years, these 2 churches were at loggerheads with each other, but we were able to get them to come together and form a new foundation called the Rastafarian Food for Life Foundation. And through that, we gave them 25% of the company as well. So in addition to them holding their sacramental cannabis license, which they are given through the right of being a church, they also have investments here in the medical industry so that they won't miss out. That was something that, as I said, the founder and myself really figured would be key to getting the industry off the ground. And those guys played a big role in getting things here running in Antigua. You guys have probably been following it for a while. 2017 is when our legislation passed. Our first legal gram was sold in 2022 November. So there's a lot that happened in those years, and I'd love to share it with you guys, answer any of the questions as to how we got here, and really discuss a little bit more as to what I think or what we think the vision for cannabis in the Caribbean could be.
Well, you know what, Zach? Thanks you so much for being a part of our program this evening also, Honorable Minister. What we're going to do right now is take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to continue with this conversation and much more. This is Heights, where knowledge grows. Welcome back to our program, ladies and gentlemen. 24 minutes after 6 o'clock. Yours truly, Sonny Bling, alongside Kia Thomas, Joshua Simongal, Derek Achong, Otto Carrington, and we have some special guests joining us on our program this evening, some still to come. But we'd like to continue our conversation with the Honorable Minister and also Zack out of Grow Antigua and Barbuda, and I was going to pass it on over to Derek Achong. He had a couple of questions that he would like to pose to our guests as well. Derek, good evening.
Earlier, you told our listeners that you got the first license was issued to you guys on this hybrid arrangement in 2017, and you sold your first gram of bud in 2022. I mean, we know that the COVID-19 pandemic fell within that time, and obviously it takes on approximately 4 to 5 months to grow a plant from seed to flower to finished product, and some testing in between. But I was wondering, what challenges, what were the issues that, or the limitations or things that need to be put in place to take 4 years or 4 to 5 years from license to bud, because we in Trinidad here have not even reached the stage of appointing a commission to grant licenses.
A great question, Derek, and it's not even a point of pointing fingers, but it's just been the legislation and regulatory bodies trying to get themselves together. We kind of took a different approach when we wrote our legislation, and for some reason drafted a very complex framework that requires a lot of undertaking from the government and their regulatory body, the Medicinal Cannabis Authority. Things from seed-to-sale software, developing teams of inspectors, all the different protocols and their own SOPs for making sure that any product that we produce or intend to sell, or even any license that we apply for, can be issued correctly. So that really was the biggest delay. I mean, moving snail pace. After COVID, yes, we picked up pace a little bit in terms of growing. Luckily, we were able to get them fast track our cultivation license. But it was then coming towards dispensary. They had no clue as to how we were going to get that up and running. So luckily, being part owned by the government, they worked very closely with us. Excuse my little dogs in the background, everyone on air. They're getting excited. We worked closely with the government to kind of forge a relationship where we were able to get started at least and run kind of like a pilot program. But that's really it. I mean, I think we're going to run into this in every island in the Caribbean, especially when we try to regulate it, and the people that are looking to regulate it or in charge of that regulation have no experience in cannabis. And that's not because, they've never had, because they didn't want to get that experience. They just never had the accessibility. As we all know, cannabis has been so taboo here in the Caribbean for the last 30, 40 years that even just to have a general discussion as I'm a farmer or I'm a consumer or I'm interested in developing these businesses or products, you don't have those opportunities. So same thing for those guys in charge of regulating it. They're a little bit out of their depths, but we're trying to make it work. And I think, you'll see that happen in pretty much every country that legalizes it here in the Caribbean. How many guys do you know that have experience in mass cannabis production and the regulatory or compliance side of it that are willing to take, a government job in a small island like this?
Minister Saboto Ceasar, Joshua here. We just heard from Zack about some of the challenges in the Caribbean region. I wanted to get your perspective. I know St. Vincent and the Grenadines is up and running, but I wanted to get your perspective on some of the challenges that you see that may be keeping the Caribbean back, in a sense, from becoming a major player in the global industry.
Well, I must say that as an interviewer, it's an excellent warmer as a question. And I am happy that you have asked this question because it's going to shed a lot of light on some things that I really want to speak about. This whole industry begins with a political will. So the policymakers in the country must express what are their views, what are their opinions, their aims and objectives for this industry. The stakeholders can have a particular intention. The traditional cultivator may have a particular view. The doctors, the nurses, everyone may have a particular view. But it all culminates and comes to a head when the policymakers, the members of parliament, let me be more specific, decide that this is the approach that we are going to take. So it begins with the political will. The political will has to be formulated and expressed in whatever country it is, whether it's Antigua, Barbuda, Trinidad and Tobago, St. Vincent and Grenadines, Jamaica, whichever country. There has to be a clear framework. When the policymakers sit down, they analyze their particular and peculiar context. So the context of Antigua and Barbuda is different from the context of St. Vincent and Grenadines. It's different from Barbados, it's different from Trinidad and Tobago. So what I think is happening in all of the countries that have not yet passed the legislation is that they are still formulating what is the political will going to look like. And of course, when you're formulating what the political will is going to look like and to express it, you take into consideration what the church is going to say, what the Rastafari community is going to say, what the medical doctors are going to say, what all the stakeholders are going to say. And then you bring it together in a legal framework. So in all of our countries, it goes to the Attorney General's chambers, and there is a period of consultation. We have completed all of that, Antigua and Barbuda, and we are wishing all the countries that are at the stage of consultation, we're wishing you all the very best. And we're just asking you, please listen to what your stakeholders are saying, and also look at what took place in Jamaica, look at what is taking place in St. Vincent and the Grenadines and in Antigua and Barbuda. Speak to the people who are operating in these industries. Ask them if you had an opportunity to rewrite the laws in Trinidad and in Antigua and Barbuda since it was passed in 2017, you noted. If you have an opportunity today in 2023 to rewrite the laws, what would you leave out? Ask Jamaica, ask St. Vincent and the Grenadines, what has worked, what hasn't worked? Because when we started, we were basically shooting in the dark. We were looking at international legislation. We were being advised by persons who have some experience, but the experience in every country, even though there will be similarities, there will be significant differences. So it started off with the political will. We drafted the legislation after significant consultation, and then we went to the market, because at the end of the day, it is real flesh and blood businessmen who will be investing to ensure that we have an industry. The government simply creates the enabling environment. It's Mr. John from up the hill who has monies in his bank account, who sees this as an opportunity, who has to go to his bank and speak about how I'm going to invest. It's Ras Aymanai, who is the head for the Nyabingi group, who has to say, well, I know there is a legislation and I was consulted. How am I going to meet with the different stakeholders to ensure that I can harness the opportunities? Similarly, and I want to show my love and respect to the brethren in Antigua and Barbuda who decided to come together and to participate on that platform. Also, the brethren and sisters also in Jamaica. So after you have the political will, the drafting of the legislation, the coming together of the factors of production, and I must say that for persons who are listening, to produce quality weed, I'm talking it bluntly, it's not cheap. And some of the practices that persons had traditionally and some of the things that you did traditionally, they're not going to be, you're not going to be able to function in the modern system with all of the regulations because there are certain checks and balances, because what we have today is a legal supply chain. And we have to take into consideration that when someone goes and they purchase a product, if the product causes harm to them, they have a case and a day in court with anyone who produced or sold that product. So I want for consumers who are listening, I want for persons who want to participate in the industry who are listening, who sometimes may say, well, they take the industry from us. It was easier before. A set of people come in who never planted weed before and creating all kind of nuances, and that these nuances were created to lock a group of people out. Well, that is not the case. You are going to have come into St. John's in Antigua and Barbuda. You're going to have people come into Kingston in Jamaica, to Bridgetown in Barbados and Kingston in St. Vincent and Grenadines, and they're going to come here on a vacation. They're going to come, for example, from the United Kingdom, and they want to know exactly what went into that product that they're going to consume. It's not me pulling you behind a shed and selling you 2 spliff, and you don't know the potency of what you're smoking. You sleep for 16 days after you take the spliff. You're seeing all kind of men running around your head, and you need to know exactly what you are consuming. And for St. Vincent and the Grenadines especially, where we are promoting a medicinal industry, the doctor who prescribes needs to know exactly that I am sending my patient for a product that I can verify. And the pharmacists also, because in St. Vincent and Grenadines, we are not as liberal as, for example, like Antigua and Barbuda. We have to go through a strict pharmacy system before you can get the product. Of course, we have now moved into whereby we have an established lounge in the country, a more relaxed environment. It's not a doctor's office. It's not the counter of a pharmacy on a beach, but there's still checks and balances to ensure that it is not a place where children, persons under age can go to and abuse. Because at the end of the day, whilst we advocate the development of a cannabis industry, we also have to appreciate our international legal obligations against substance abuse. And we all know that drugs can be abused. And it is really sad sometimes when some people abuse drugs and then they taboo the whole industry. So I'm very comforted with what we have been doing in all of the islands, in Jamaica, Antigua, Barbuda, St. Vincent, Grenadines, Barbados. And after the factors of production have come together, and I also want to say we cannot approach the industry with any level of insularity, because I am aware that in St. Vincent and Grenadines there's a company that has expended as much as $10 million US to establish their platform. And if you can't mobilize people to be able to create a quality product, because at the end of the day, before you export, it has to be tested. It has to be tested for pesticides residue. And it's not going to be cool after spending so much money to produce something, and it has to meet international standards. When it gets to the destination and it's retested, it doesn't pass the test. You will not be able to get your returns on investment. It's quite different if the product is solely for local consumption.
You know what? Thank you very much, Honorable Minister.
Yes.
Sorry, let me not jam you on the final point you wanted to put in there. Sorry about that. Go on.
Yes. The final point I want to mention is that you can have the best legislation on the books. The implementation is where the rubber hits the road.
Some very serious points were met right there, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Sonny Bling, and we are continuing our conversation with our royal guest, St. Vincent and the Grenadines Government Minister, Saboto Ceasar. That's who we just heard from. And we also have Zack Hadeed of Antigua's first licensed medical cannabis company, Grow Antigua and Barbuda. And of course, on our screens, we realize Zack is having a good time on his own over there. Zack, I just want to throw in this question randomly. What is the flower of choice this evening, Zack?
This right now is a strain that we have called Boom Blast. It's actually a Mandarin OG crossed with Tangerine Haze. It's got some very orange terpenes to it, orange notes to it. And also it makes you very talkative, very sociable, very euphoric. So that's why I chose this for the interview. I hope you guys don't mind me, but I got home from work and this is my ritual.
Well, do us a favor as you're on screen for us here. The folks who are listening are not really seeing you, but we're just going to capture something real quick. I just want to count to 3 and then you're going to hit us one. How does it go? 1, 2, 3, do your thing now. You know, yeah. That's it right there. We have Zack.
Oh, it's not lit.
Oh, don't worry. You sort it out. You sort it out. All right, so let me invite once again Joshua to come in here and say a couple words. And by the way, folks, coming up a little later on the program, we have a couple more guests. And this is a regional program. We have Antigua and Barbuda on right now. We have St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I also saw Junior Kelly, Jamaican reggae artist, has also checked into our Zoom. We're going to speak with him in a short while. And Black Loyalty, who was a part of the Redemption 8 concert over the weekend alongside Buju Banton, Anthony B, Luciano, and Beres Hammond. Let's get Joshua with a couple of words quickly.
Yes, Zack, I wanted to ask a similar question to ask from Minister Ceasar. And well, I know you'll sit on the other side of the collaboration that is necessary between private sector and the public sector. So I wanted to hear from the private sector side, in your own experience and in the conversations you might have had with people in the business across the region. Is there a sense in the private sector that the governments have done enough to put the private sectors in a position, the private companies in a position to flourish and expand and prosper in this medicinal cannabis industry in the region?
A great question. I mean, Antigua is a unique demographic from an economic standpoint, where our private sector with the expendable or liquid cash to invest or liquid capital is very, very minute. There are a handful of local entrepreneurs here that have been on island for about 30, 40 years, whether their roots go back really far to Antiguan roots or, they're expats that have come in the past. But they've, established big businesses here in the Caribbean and in Antigua already. So they were able to kind of venture into the market just because of the licensing price. But that really did become a gate for quite a few of the, what you'd like to call local man, who thought that he'd be able to get into the industry, especially as Saboto was talking about earlier, the local farmers here that have been growing cannabis for a while. But I think it quickly came to realization just the amount of investment required, because...
All right, I realize we got another connectivity issue with you there, Zack. We missed a few of your words there, Zack. We had a connection issue. So I don't know if you want to just...
You guys hearing me okay?
Yeah, we're hearing you properly now. If you just want to repeat what you said before. You're hearing a little better now? Speak with us. I think the buds...
Sorry about that, guys. You dropped out.
Yeah, the earbuds are the better. Okay. Let's go. Yeah, we're hearing you.
Sorry about that. So yeah, beforehand I had a shop and, it was selling everything to do with cannabis other than cannabis itself. And that gave me a good opportunity to really meet the people interested, whether that was all the foreign investors that came down and, thought they were going to come in and flex their muscles and do what they've done in California, Colorado, Canada, etc. as well as all the local guys that were really interested in learning about cultivating a good quality product. So I used that time to kind of gauge the market. And from there, I met the founder, who I had known for a while, of Grow, and he gave me the opportunity to join him. And he was really one of those entrepreneurs that I described before that had several businesses here, employing hundreds of people already. So naturally, he grouped together with a few other ones and came to the government with this proposal. At the beginning, it caused quite a bit of an uproar, because as we mentioned, we expect that those that have been in the industry for the longest time to get first priority, but it wasn't that case. This is going to be a highly regulated industry that requires a lot of know-how, a lot of investment, and a lot of risk as well. We went through quite a bit of risk in not being able to retail cannabis for 2 years while cultivating. We in fact even had to destroy 50,000 grams of product.
Oh, no.
I mean, the value on that was huge, and I don't know if a small entrepreneur could handle that sort of loss. I was there myself beforehand. I thought I'd be able to do this all on my own, with my own investment, but quickly I realized, no, I need to do this with a group of people, and that's why we kind of came to where we are with Grow.
All right.
But it's definitely early days. We're trying to fight the foreign investment because they're coming in here looking to, I think, take advantage of the market. They think they're going to come in here and grow copious amounts of cannabis that they'll just export biomass, back to the States and then process how they want, and that it's going to be easy peasy and very profitable for them. But I think that will affect or kind of forget about the local consumer, right? They won't get the high quality product that they're looking for.
Thank you so much for your contributions this evening, Zack. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys are enjoying our program. What we're going to do is take another quick commercial break, and when we return from this break, we're going to add into our conversation. Levaungh Flynn is also on the line with us live from Jamaica. Also, Junior Kelly is here with us, so we're going to have those conversations coming up. Of course, we got to say much thanks to some of our sponsors this evening. Royal Extra Stout, it's a pleasure to have you guys on board with us this evening. A proud sponsor of Heights, where knowledge grows. All right, it's a pleasure to have you guys on board. And also later on, we're going to have that 12-12 Grow Guru segment that is coming up before the end of our program for all the folks out there who may be trying their hand with a little plant. Like, for instance, I know I was given a plant. I was given a plant, a flower two weeks ago right here in the program in a cup.
Before transplant, the plant died. A natural death.
Well, yeah, that's
R.I.P.
I am actually proud to say that I have my own still, and if I got it with 3 leaves on it or whatever, I now have about 6 going, but it's still in the cup. So my question is now, after my 2 weeks that I have remember me,
transplant.
I am not a grower. Easy on yourself. What I'm saying is, I'm talking to professionals this evening. Zack is here. You know what I'm saying? So my point is, now I could take it out of the cup.
Yeah, you can transplant it.
Well, I'm going to stay tuned for Grow Guru a little later on. I need some of that information. Definitely. What I can say though before this break is that my next trip, I said it last season, I was supposed to go to St. Vincent. My next trip is in Antigua and Barbuda to meet Zack, so I can get a tour. You know what I think I need to do properly though? Because everything is social media, everything is content. I think it's fair that I do a tour with Zack in Antigua and Barbuda and let people actually understand what is the real process. See what the feel looks like.
Whenever you want. We have an open family here. We just actually hosted Protege and Jesse Royal and Lila Ike.
Nice.
And we toured them all around the island. They performed. We took them up to the farm. We gave them a private day in the dispensary. Took them to see the stingrays. So come on through, guys. All of you. It's an open invitation.
We appreciate that invitation, and we're going to definitely make that happen. And as I said before, Junior Kelly is also on the line from Jamaica. I'm sure when he heard that Jesse Royal and Protege, he's like, all right, I'm next. I'm going to be in Antigua. And also, of course, we're going to hear from Levaungh Flynn in a short show. This is Heights, where knowledge grows. 47 minutes after 6 o'clock. 47 minutes after 6 o'clock. Welcome back to the Caribbean's #1 cannabis industry and culture show. It's called Heights. Remember to join the Heights Nation by following Heights on all major social media platforms. We're on TikTok, Instagram, Spotify, YouTube, and Facebook. There you will find exclusive Caribbean cannabis content like pictures and videos of the best legal grows in TNT. Now, we are continuing our conversation with St. Vincent and the Grenadines Government Minister Saboto Ceasar. It's a pleasure to have him on board. I think we're getting ready to wrap on this part of the conversation. Also, we have Zack Hadeed here with us. I think he's staying on of Grow Antigua and Barbuda. And we would like to also introduce Levaungh Flynn from Jamaica. Before I do that, let me reintroduce Otto Carrington, who's going to engage again our Honorable Minister out of St. Vincent.
Good day, Minister Saboto. Just a follow-up question. I know you spoke about what happened from the Lasso Free volcano. From your ministry's perspective, and in regards of quantifying the amount of losses, because you spoke about a lot of devastation, has there been quantified losses as to how many losses would have occurred during that time?
All right. For those persons who have an appreciation of the cannabis industry in St. Vincent and Grenadines, it started off with the traditional cultivators, the persons who've been carrying ganja by boats throughout the region from in the 70s, 80s, 90s. And they farm on the sides of the volcano illegally. Now, just picture this. I want to be as graphic as I can. These farmers were farming on the slopes of the volcano for decades. And then you had the cannabis industry developing, and most of them continued to farm on the slopes. And then the volcano erupted. Everybody evacuated. And you could just imagine if ash got to Barbuda, if ash got to Grenada and to St. Lucia, what happened to the slopes of the volcano. So there was 100% wipeout of the traditional cultivators. All of their plantations went. And they basically suffered a loss of everything. We are not able to quantify that loss because we never really knew exactly what quantities that they were producing, because you had a movement of persons who were traditional cultivators in the mountains, and they got their traditional cultivators licenses to farm, so that they could farm under a regulated system. And most of them had started to migrate to lowlands, and they were working under the regulatory framework that was established by the government. But even those establishments were destroyed. But I'm just drawing a comparison between what happened on the mountain slopes and what happened in the lower areas. The investors who are here, I think, just to hazard a guess, it's about $3.5 million in losses, and that's infrastructure damage. That's not the opportunity cost. That's not the markets that they lost. That's not the fact that they have to start all over again from an infrastructure standpoint. That's not the fact that they had men on the ground who were working, who they had to pay, who were locked inside. So there was a significant fallout. But I'm really happy that since then, many have been able to dust off the ash, and from the ashes they continue to rise.
Honorable Minister, let me ask you a question. Sonny Bling speaking. I just want to ask a question. I don't know if it was mentioned, we have missed it, and I don't know if Zack may have had the same thought. I don't know at all. But in terms of people being affected, $3.5 million in losses, and the local farmers or the hustlers, if you want to put it that way, they did their thing, they lost entirely. Was there any kind of funding going back out to any of the legitimate businesses that may have lost? As in, is there some kind of insurance or anything in place? Because, all right, fine, we understand that we're on an island where you are going to be affected by volcanoes from time to time, and it's unpredictable. Is there something in the framework that says compensation, like flood insurance, etc., for instance?
Right, and before I answer your question, I have a smile, and that's why we are the best weed in the world. Because we have a volcano that's pushing out lava, high energy from inside of the earth. Yes, what we did in St. Vincent and the Grenadines is that we looked at the licensing system, and it comes with a cost. So for the traditional cultivator, we remove any payment for the licenses thus far for the traditional cultivators, and we also extended the licenses that the foreign companies had without a payment having to be made. So your licenses basically were extended, so you didn't have to incur the cost for the repayment. Okay. For the standpoint of the traditional cultivators, we got assistance from Jamaica. There are several persons at Mona who are into the breeding of plants they were able to assist us with seeds. And as I said earlier, I thank the government and people of Jamaica. We also got assistance, technical assistance. And you see, this cannabis world is like a brotherhood. There are persons who will call, there are persons who will, somebody from Antigua will call you and say, well, I want to help you test the ash because we want to see how this would react with the cannabis, send us some of the ash. And there was a lot of technical support that we got out of Antigua and Barbuda from all different circles, including the Ministry of Agriculture as well. We also were able to provide fertilizer support to the traditional cultivators, and there were many companies in the United States of America that are into fertilizer production that were very kind in sending ton loads of organic fertilizer so that the traditional cultivator could benefit. And there's a unique thing that we have in the country that I want to, before I break, there's a unique thing that we have in the country for the traditional cultivators. It's not every ganja man who planted on the hillsides of the volcano at age 70 wanted to transfer into planting cannabis legally. Some wanted to go into planting fruits and vegetables, into general agriculture as they retire. And we have identified some 300 acres of land that we are going to make available for alternative sustainable livelihoods. Persons who have had enough with weed, I want to do something else. My children have grown up now, I'm settled, I've made enough, and it's a part of the transitioning. So we are not forcing anybody to transition to other crops, but I'm just stating that in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we are opening that door and that opportunity for traditional cultivators as well.
Honorable Minister, we want to thank you so much for your great input on our conversation this evening. You are a wealth of knowledge you would have brought to the table for us here this evening as well, and insight. And thank you for answering some of our much needed questions as well, all right?
Yes.
And you mentioned Jamaica. Actually, you mentioned Jamaica just now in your conversation, which is pretty funny because at the end of the day, that is exactly where we're going to be heading to next. So I understand Zack is going to stick and stay with us for a bit, and we thank you for being here with us. However, we just like to thank, of course, the Honorable Minister out of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Saboto Ceasar, for being with us here this evening. It's a pleasure to have you on board our program again on Season 2. And, of course, maybe we might have you again on Season 3. But before that, you're going to see us live in St. Vincent. I can tell you that.
Come in, Vincent.
We will be in St. Vincent.
All right, so what we're going to do, we're going to take a quick...
All the very best. Looking forward to see you.
Thank you very much. Zack, you stick and stay. I understand that you're going to be with us for a little while, but we're going to take a quick pause.
I'll chill, man.
Yeah,
I'll hang around for a bit.
But
Nice to meet you, Caesar. Thank you very much for your input.
Nice, man. So we're going to toss in a tune that I'm sure Zack is going to enjoy. And as I told you guys, coming up, we have Levaungh Flynn is also going to be on the program. And Jamaica's very own reggae international artist, Junior Kelly, is also going to be on the program. Let's take in one of his tracks right now. The sounds of Junior Kelly blaze right here on Slam on 00.5 and our hit-breaking show. It's called Heights. Welcome back to Season 2 of Heights.
Heights on Slam on 00.5 and Freedom 106.5 FM.
So we are now headed into our next segment. Of course, it's 7 p.m. and it's a pleasure to have you guys on board with us on the program. Yours truly, Sonny Blink here, Thomas, Joshua C. Mungle, Derek Achong, and Otto Carrington. What we'd like to do now would be welcome to our set. We have Levaungh Flynn representing Jamaica. We have Junior Kelly also representing Jamaica. Of course, we're gonna have a little convo with Junior Kelly because I just got some information and learned some things about my artist, if you want to put it that way. I didn't realize, and I really have a couple of questions I would like to toss out and get some feedback on. And Levaungh Flynn, a gentleman who is now in a different capacity representing in Jamaica. Let's get some of that conversation going. Otto Carrington, lead the way.
It's a pleasure to have you, Junior, and Levaungh. Levaungh, a question that we would like to put to you this afternoon is that Jamaica, you are one of the first chairman of the Jamaica Cannabis Licensing Authority, and I know you no longer hold that position. But do you think that enough was done in regards, and what sort of strides you would have made? Because I know now you are now shifting into your original position where you were an advocate for medical cannabis.
You have to unmute, Levaungh. I think your mic is still unmuted. Sorry about that. That's all right. Welcome to the program again.
Yeah, rookie mistake.
That's all right. Talk to us. Good evening.
Yeah, man. Big up Zach. Big up Junior Kelly. You know, during my tenure as chairman of the Cannabis Licensing Authority of Jamaica, you know, I had a consistent theme. Is that we have to grow the industry. If we're not focused on growing the industry and instead regulating it, that's not going to set us on the path to success. You know, regulation does not lead to growth. So over that time, it was the number one job was really seeding that message and getting persons to understand that. And over time, I've also realized that what perhaps is needed for the government is a separate entity that's focused on growing the industry. You know, perhaps that should not be the role of the regulator. So, okay, we've done the fundamental work of establishing the laws and setting up the regulation. The next natural step needs to be, what is the growth strategy? And what is the unit, what's the body that's going to drive that growth? And that's one of the things I've been communicating. And in the 420 series I did a couple of weeks ago, that was the essence of it, the video series that I did, is that we need to put things in place to drive the industry. And here are some suggestions.
So good evening and welcome back to the program. Sunny Bling here, and I'm going to toss in Kia Thomas pretty quickly as well. But my question is that you have gone from regulator to advocate. And I don't know if I heard you correctly, but from what you're saying is that you have learned certain mistakes you believe that would have been made from being a regulator. Because I'm seeing Zach shaking his head a whole lot when he heard about the external bodies being involved in these things. So is it that you would have learned what you're saying here now after being in the seat that you held before?
No, it's a belief I always had that needs to be the next step. But just in my capacity as chairman, you know, I can't bring that into action. That's a all of government approach that's needed towards that. So it's not a matter of learning it, is realizing, having that as part of the original vision, that this is where we need to go, and then finding ways of how we can see that message, because it's a ideological change you're trying to implement within a government system that is not always welcoming to different ways of thinking. Yeah. So it's a lot of work to explain to persons, to build a narrative, to show the opportunities. So a lot of my work, I believe, during my time as chairman was around that, and I'll continue even in my advocacy, whichever way I do so. I'll continue to drive that message home, because there's so many opportunities for Jamaica. You know, I just think this is something that's worth investing in. There are so many opportunities for Jamaica on so many levels. In the video series I did, I spoke about the potential of the nutraceutical sector and having incubators within the island to drive that sector. I also spoke about the possibilities of wellness tourism, which to me, it's a natural fit for Jamaica, because we already have a strong tourism product. The opportunities are there. I just want to see us invest in it, because it's worth investing in. And of course, we're also going to be sharing that series on our Heights platforms as well. So to our listeners, you can make sure and look out for that. And we are going to toss over to Kia Thomas, and as well as we are going to introduce Junior Kelly. But before that, we really wanted to hear from Zach, because I saw Zach really nodding in approval to some of the things that you were saying earlier on there. So Zach, pretty quickly, what do you have to say to some of the things you just heard there?
Well, I just like the perspective. It puts the product first in the center, and then it has all the other stakeholders equally vested in producing or consuming or regulating a perfect product that we can stand proud of. You know, we don't do that very often here in the Caribbean. I think you guys do a better job in Jamaica, specifically with your entertainment product. And it goes to my perspective when I had my shop previously. You know, I wanted to make sure everyone had access to a good quality product. Everybody could grow a good quality product. We all knew what a good quality product was. And, you know, how do we reinforce that and put that into our culture without straying away from typical island life, cannabis consumption in our daily lives and stuff like that. So, Levaungh, I'd love to work with you. Maybe we extend a unit out here in Antigua too. Caribbean wide.
Yeah.
Nice, man. We're networking well. Kia Thomas, come on in.
Thank you so much, Zach. Thank you so much, Mr. Flynn. So we want to welcome and bring in none other than Junior Kelly, and certainly we want to ask Junior, what are your thoughts on the Jamaican cannabis industry right now, from the perspective as a reggae artist, and also from the perspective of an advocate for the drug? What are your thoughts for the cannabis industry in Jamaica, on the cannabis industry in Jamaica?
First, thanks for having me on the program. Mr. Flynn, Zach, Slam, 100.5 FM. It's good to be here, brother. And all the people are tuning in from over in Trinidad. Greetings to you all. Okay, where that question is concerned, come again, please.
Of course, not a problem. What are your thoughts on the Jamaican cannabis industry?
Well, you use that term drug, and I hate that term medicine. I love the term medicine, but anyway, forget about that for a second.
No, Judah, I was actually here saying the same thing like you.
Medicine. I know this is the part of the tongue, so I forgive it.
And we appreciate the understanding and not taking it too far.
Yeah, but that's okay. Because one thing, the cannabis, the legalization, the decriminalization in Jamaica, it's sometimes I think it's a little bit too much, too little, too late. We should have capitalized on it ages ago. Trust me, I am sure we'd have get rid of all our debts, in Jamaica. We'd have cleared up all our debts because, we're a third world country. Just like any other third world country, we're strapped with debts, and that's one of the ways. That's the green gold. That would have set us free and set us on a good footing. That could have bring in a lot of revenue for the country, infrastructure work and all of that, you know what I mean? So I think it's a little too late, but we're gaining traction and we're heading in the right direction. Mr. Flynn would know more about that where the legislation is concerned. But I think it is positive. I think it's positive.
Yeah, Mr. Kelly, if you don't mind me calling Mr. Kelly instead of Junior Kelly.
That's okay.
But basically, the Rastafari movement, and more especially reggae artists within Jamaica, have been promoting the herb since reggae music essentially was created many years ago, and would have been advocating and promoting Jamaica. Are you disappointed that or can you say whether any of the companies that were set up in Jamaica partnered with the Jamaican reggae artists in order to push the brands or to give in a kind of give back way, for all the promotion that the Jamaican artists would have done over the years?
Well, I think we have, as reggae artists, have been pushing and promoting and advocating for the legalization and the very least the decriminalization of it. And sad to say, the growers and the dispensary, they're not collaborating with us. They're not reaching out to us as much as they should. We were the ones who first started pushing it and promoting it, the legalization of it, through music, and we haven't been contacted yet on a grand scale. Only one artist so far, I think, and it's Idonia, as a Jamaican artist, a dancehall artist, not a reggae artist, and reggae artists are the ones Rastafari have been pushing it from God knows when, from way back in the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, through the 80s, 90s, and here we are now. You know what I mean? So I think more collaboration. Mr. Flynn would agree with me on that. We need more collaboration.
Let's hear from Mr. Flynn on what is being mentioned here. You want to come in and say anything there, Levaungh?
Yeah, I know Jesse Royal is another artist who has, I believe, a partnership with Jacana. and I don't know with Epicon. I think what I see a lot of the licensed producers in Jamaica doing, they're finding their own creative ways to incorporate Rastafari in their identity as a ganja brand. Because that is essential. And I believe they're genuine as well. Because they recognize the history and the story of Rastafari in what Jamaica ganja is recognized as and valued as right now. I don't know how they would do that collectively. I know some of them work with different growers work with different artists, but I'm not sure how they would do that collectively.
Well, hello? You hear me?
Yeah, you go on. Come on, join us.
All right. Mr. Flynn, you're right. We're on the right track, but there's more to be done in terms of promoting the music, promoting cannabis within the music, reggae music. There's tons of artists here that need. It doesn't have to be me. It just have to be more reggae artists collaborating with these various different brands and dispensaries. You know what I mean? Listen, when Hollywood do a movie, I know everybody here, if it's Zack, Mr. Flynn, everybody here can know as soon as a movie is made and a man light a spliff, guess what you hear in the background? A reggae beat, right? Every time. So it's synonymous with the music and Rastafari.
Now, Junior Kelly, I want to cut in here a little bit. I want to cut in a bit on what you have mentioned earlier on, because you did say reggae music, and some people may say, well, of course, of like, why just the reggae music? But then it's obvious because, as you said, it's synonymous with the music. However, you also mentioned not just you; it doesn't have to be you. And I understand that you no longer, I don't know if you did before, but you no longer consume cannabis. Is that so?
Not in the form that is mainly consumed in, which is building a spliff and smoking. No, I don't do that anymore. Been there, done that. As an artist, I'm very energetic on stage, and I consume it in other ways. And I'm a strong advocate of the consumption of it. I consume it in other ways. I don't smoke it anymore. But there's the cake, there's the punch, there's the biscuit, there's the sweetie.
No. See, at the same time now, you would have just blown the minds of quite a few of your own fans as well, you know what I mean? Because immediately some would say, reggae music, Junior Kelly, you hear a song like Blaze, 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 Blaze. You know what I mean? Give me the boom drum, strong drum. So what would have led you to the decision to, if you want to put it, peg back a little bit? You're no longer on the front line with the spliff and the whatnot. What got you to that decision that you need to take that turn?
I want to tell you, when you mentioned front line, there's so much rastas and even artists that you will never see them with a spliff in public. It's not that they're ashamed of it. Mostly smoke privately. And I was like that, but I know it shocked a lot of people, but we evolved from that stage. I have so many options now, more than just lighting up a spliff, I'm way past that. Because
I'd love to jump in on that.
Yourself, as a consumer of the product, this wonderful green wood, ask yourself. I ask myself the question, and anybody in my line of work should ask themselves, who consume a cannabis should ask themselves this question. My question to myself around 20 years ago is, do you smoke it for the high? And if is yes, is there other ways to extract that high without burning it?
Yeah.
And the answer is yes, there's many ways. So I transition from burning it and move on to, I think, a better way of consuming it for myself, my opinion.
Yeah. No, I have a lot I'd like to ask you on that. We'd like to bring in Zack, because Zack wanted to add a piece on this. Yes, Zack?
I'm actually just, I love to hear what I'm hearing. Respect Junior. You know, like, I was very intrigued when we had the artists here last weekend, welcoming them into the dispensary and hearing about how they use cannabis in their daily life. And I was shocked. CBD was the main request, you know, with no psychoactive high. And you're very true. I mean, THC is really just helping with serotonin production for mood changing.
That's all it does.
And you can get that elsewhere. And then, you know, this draws back to that point you were making earlier, to have more of an involvement as an artist and an advocate for an alternative way of cannabis use and an alternative lifestyle. Now that we have this open conversation, now that we have open access to all these different products, preaching that through your song, through your music, through your artistry is some way that you could collaborate and really stand out very uniquely with these brands that are now producing edibles, CBD dominant strains or products, you know, non-psychoactive elements or non-psychoactive uses of cannabis. Consuming raw THC is amazing when you're fighting cancer tumors. It's the best way to fight tumor growth, THCA. I mean, it's not medically proven yet, but a lot of studies have been looking into that. And these sort of things we don't hear in song. It's all just light your big spliff and you know.
And I really like the way you put in that point there, Zach, because that is the last point I would like to go to Junior one more before we take the commercial break. And when we come back after the break, actually, we're going to do another song. We're going to do Boom Draw, actually. And when we come back from that, we're going to continue with Levaungh. But what I wanted to find out is just that. Rastafari, I'm a young man. I'm in my 30s and I'm in my upper 30s, so I have been listening to reggae music my entire life. And I know every song comes with roll a spliff, take a draw, and so on. So in essence, similar to some of the things we would have heard as children, as in eating hot dogs was good as a child, but then as an adult, eating hot dogs get you cancer. But then Rastafari saying our entire lives, roll a big spliff. But then Junior Kelly says now, oh, I just eat edibles. Or I just like, wait a minute. So is there going to be a change in your tone, or would you say there's a change in tone that we can expect from our reggae artists in terms of what they put into the music? So can I hear Junior Kelly saying, I rise up this morning and I bite into a brownie?
Yeah, that's a very good idea. That's a very good idea, and I'm glad you mentioned. You bring up about the topic about consumption of it apart from smoking it.
Yeah.
Other people, why they stay away from it is that they're not educated on it. They would love to try it. A lot of people can't even sleep at night because they have so many stress on their head. It's a really good stress reliever. Zack, I'm sure Zack can testify to that. You know what I mean? It has so many good use to relax your mind and keep you focused on your task. Personally, when I consume it, if I have a task, I go all day until it's done. Yeah. You understand?
Productivity
and yes, it keep me focused on the task at hand. You know what I mean? And so a lot of people would stay away from it because they do not want to smoke it, but they are not educated like Zack and myself. You and Mr. Flynn know that there's many different ways to consume it. Many different ways without smoking it. So they're not introduced to it. They love weed, they love cannabis. They're advocates of cannabis use, but are not open to the cake and the punch and the sweetie and the biscuits and the brownies. You know what I mean? And so you're right. I may have to do a few songs and introduce these new products from the same cannabis, you know what I mean? It's a good idea.
Thank you very much. And before we take our pause, let me just call in Levaungh Flynn, once again, to give us a little bit of synopsis as to what you just heard there, coming out of both Zack and Junior Kelly from the consumption side of things before we take our pause. How do you feel about what you heard?
Yeah, man. I love the conversation. I love the direction it took a while ago because, you know, I've been at that stage as well where do I want to smoke the weed? Should I find another way? Should I try some edibles? Should I try the vaporizers? I have about 4 or 5 vaporizers in my house. I have been through about 4 or 5 steam chalice. You know, but there's just something about a spliff where the experience it's more intimate, it's more personal, is almost a relationship between you and your spliff in terms of the experience as a smoker. So smoking will always be especially for more people and more accessible.
Yes, you're right.
So let's take a minute right there, guys. What I'm gonna do, we're gonna drop a big tune, a boom draw tune. You know, we're gonna drop a big tune here, a boom draw tune. We're gonna send it straight back to Junior Kelly again, the edibles champ at this moment. You know what I mean? Watch me, Junior Kelly. We actually had a big reggae concert over the weekend here on Saturday. We had Buju Banton, Luciano, Anthony B, Black Loyalty from Trinidad and Tobago, and we also had Beres Hammond here live. I was actually one of the hosts for the program. We presented them with appreciation awards on the night as well too. So trust me, our reggae movement in TNT is huge and they're tuned in, and I am certain you have a few fans this evening.
Oh yes, I have a whole few. I have a whole lot.
No, what I mean is you have a few fans whose minds have been blown tonight hearing that Junior Kelly says, what? He only has the edibles and he has the what? You know what I mean? So I am certain we have a few guys in here. So what are we going to do? We're going to take some calls.
Hey, trust me, they're not going to be that surprised, man. The persons are, the public education is getting a lot better in terms of the different ways to consume. They're not going to be as surprised as you think.
Well, you know what? We're going to take in this track, and when we come back, I think we're going to try and open our phone lines as well. I'm sure we're going to have some callers that would like to get in and say a few words. It's 624-1005, or you can call 623-5001. Those are our digits to get in. If you're calling internationally, of course, it's 1-868-624-1005 or 1-868-623-5001. We have a nice cast on the inside. It's a regional show this evening. Here's another big one from the legend. That's what I said, the legend, Junior Kelly. 4.5 as we continue with our program Heights, boy. Now, this is a real iconic conversation. I never thought I would have been in a conversation with Junior Kelly and others like this. It's always our second season of the program. I really enjoy the program because we've had the opportunity to speak with quite a few leaders in the industry. And I'm not just talking about in music, but when we're talking about cannabis, different players, all right? And I know for a fact somewhere in my journey, I you know what I mean, light up a big one to Junior Kelly in this life at some point. Let's not get into that here now, but that is just the case. So we thank Zack for being here, Levaungh and Junior Kelly. And as I mentioned before, we have one of the artists that was actually a part of the reggae show on the weekend, Redemption A, the guy who actually opened the show for us, representing TNT to the world, Black Loyalty. Welcome to the program, Black Loyalty.
Blessings, Sonny Bling. Greetings. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you on the program with us this evening as well, too. Junior Kelly is actually live on the Zoom with us here right now.
Greetings, Junior Kelly, man.
Greetings, Black Loyalty.
My legendary artist.
Your legendary artist, huh?
Yes, sir.
Did you know? No, Junior Kelly, he was not in studio when we had this part of the conversation, and I'm going to ask him now. I'm going to blow his mind. I'm going to show you how true this thing is. Do you know, or did you know, that Junior Kelly does not burn cannabis spliff-wise and thing? You know that?
Okay.
Did you know that?
One important
I didn't know that.
Anymore.
No, but what I mean, no, Black Loyalty is a big dread as well too in the studio, right? And I am saying to you, Black Loyalty, did you know that your artist Junior Kelly does not burn a spliff anymore? No, he takes edibles, etc.
Edibles. Well,
but
I
did you know that?
I didn't know that at all.
Isn't that a shocking thing to you?
No, it's not shocking to me because with my understanding of marijuana through the years, I gained to understand because I would have had the privilege of meeting with gurus from Himalayas, in the temple.
Right.
You know, because I used to study with a certain order called Hare Krishna, which is Sanskrit. So I used to meet with people of different walks of life during that period of my life. And a lot of people out there don't consume marijuana in the sense of smoking. You know, some people also use it as burning rituals, right?
Correct.
They would make circles and they smoke and chant the mantras and they receive their heights. And marijuana also acts as a psychedelic in some instances.
Sacrament.
It's a sacrament. Thank you, my brother, for better word, you know what I mean? So we have the concept of rolling marijuana, smoking marijuana, which, you know, we introduced that to the world.
Right.
Roll on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? A lot of people have never done that. Like when I went to Jamaica years ago, I've never seen a man with a roll on.
Yeah, on Barbuda.
If I see a man with a roll on, I would be like, yeah, he been to Trinidad.
He been to the Caribbean.
He been to the Caribbean, you know what I mean? So marijuana also have been ingested through a lot of medicinal ways. You know what I mean? Via boiling, you know what I mean? But have people that use these stems to make merchandise, which, you know, the Japanese high in that, you know what I mean? So a lot of people think marijuana is a big smoke out thing. This is not a smoke out thing, you know what I mean? And I don't agree with anything giving anybody cancer. You know what I mean? You need to know your genetic memory bank. You know what I mean? You need to know your family tree.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To know what you need to ingest and what you not to ingest, because not everything is for everybody.
Right.
That's why in the ancient tradition they would call it taboos.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if you don't know your taboo, if you have not done a name in the center as a child, you don't know certain things you shouldn't consume, then probably you might use marijuana. It might affect you mentally.
Yeah.
It might affect you spiritually. It might affect you emotionally. It might interfere with your mental or your psyche. You know, because not everybody should smoke marijuana. Some people could drink it. Like how the brother would have recognized that he crossed the stage of smoking it. Now he could eat it.
Yeah.
And he will reach the same heights in the same way, gain the same results. Because I spoke with Malanasha some years ago, and he had this thing called body high.
Yeah.
You know, some edibles as well.
Correct, yeah. Malanasha's a good
and he
friend.
said, boy, that just gave a body high. I was like, body high?
Yeah.
You need high, I know when they smoke marijuana is head high. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So all these things I get to recognize that marijuana have many different properties.
Big respect to the brother Malanasha as well, pretty good
Yeah.
friend. He actually just wrapped up a little tour in Japan alongside
yes,
Sizzla
I saw that,
Kalonji.
I saw that.
Like talking about a matter of days ago, these guys are just moving all over the place, you know what I mean? So big respects to them all the same. And Black Loyalty, quickly before we want to bring back in Levaungh Flynn on the conversation. We have a lot of players in this conversation
Serious?
right now this evening.
Serious?
We have Zack out of Grow, Antigua and Barbuda.
Big respect
You know what I mean?
to
We
all
have-
the
we
people
have
that log on right
former
now,
regular
local and
Not
abroad,
much
man.
now. We could go into things here
Yes,
right now,
sir,
but I
yes,
want to
sir,
ask you
yes,
quickly
sir.
before we continue, how was Redemption 8 for you? We were the co-host for the program, Ken Simmons and myself. We were there.
I saw that.
It was my first time to see you on that big stage in front of over 20,000 people. How was
true.
that for you?
Well, you know, it shows time and space does the magic.
Yeah.
It's all about being persistent and consistent. Otto Carrington is a brother who would have mentored me a lot. He knew me from small coming into the business, and he would have guided me and said, Loyalty, there are different approaches you need to take and whatever. So me being on that stage was just confirmation that here we're going on. The world is ready for me now, and it's time to take it from one stage to another. You know what I mean? So it was confirmation that here we're going on. Loyalty, the time is now.
And you also
Let's go.
see you brought Mama on the stage.
Of course, that's my queen.
Yeah.
That's my foundation, so I can't leave out in that opportunity. That ain't gonna look good. Plus, mother's there around the corner.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
people were shocked. You know what I mean? They didn't recognize that I had that up my sleeve now.
Correct.
And I realized a lot of people didn't hear that I saw that I say happy birthday to David Wada as well.
Oh, I didn't
I don't
even
know why
realize
people missed that.
Yeah, we missed
That
we
was
missed-
David Wada's birthday.
Yeah.
And I said it loud.
Yeah,
You know
and
what I
people like they missed that. They
They
didn't
missed that,
understand.
and you know, we need to take note of these things because a lot of artists will go on stage most times and they don't remember the icons.
All right, thanks so much for being here.
Yeah.
Now, Zach, not Zach actually, sorry about that. Actually, want to toss back over to
Levaungh.
Joshua Simonga. Yeah, Joshua. So Joshua.
Now,
is now-
before you go,
quickly.
Loyalty.
Yes, brother.
Before you go,
Yes,
you know, say what you said earlier, you bring your mother on stage.
Yes, my lord. Yeah, for the redemption.
All
concert.
right, watch this now. You bring on Mama Earth on stage. Most men are bring on them girlfriend on stage. So enough respect to you.
Give respect, my lord.
Yeah,
Big
enough respect to you. Enough
Of course,
respect.
mother is creation.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
can't,
enough
as much as
respect.
you love your wife, you need to know mama is mama.
And
And
it's back.
if you don't appreciate Mama and love Mama, you're not gonna love your wife the way you're supposed to.
Facts.
All right,
Yeah,
let's
yeah,
get
man.
Levaungh. Levaungh, I know you've been around patiently. You've been listening to some of this information here, and you're now advocating in a big way. So you taking some notes this evening with us here, Levaungh. Let's hear again from our friend Joshua. Talk to us.
Yes, Mr. Flynn, I wanted to ask this question. I know that there's so many competing interests in the Caribbean cannabis in terms of culture, the industry. We have the Rastafari perspective, that is such a pure connection to cannabis, it's spiritual, out of this world in a sense. And then there's the business perspective, and the business sees this industry as a potential to re-invoke the economy. Do you think it's a reasonable expectation that all these interests could be balanced for the sake of the Caribbean? Is it possible to balance all these interests and maintain a level of equity that everyone can benefit, or do you think that's an unrealistic expectation given the experience you had at the Medicinal Cannabis Licensing Authority of Jamaica?
Yeah, well, my response is not in reference to my time as CLA chairman. And my short answer is yes, it is achievable. But it is going to require remarkable forward thinking. It's going to require a lot of interdependence. And it's going to require really visionary thinking and looking at what we have. I'm speaking specifically, of course, from a Jamaican perspective right now. So yes, it is achievable, and even if you look across the Caribbean as well, it's possible. Dominica, I believe, is somewhere in the process of setting up their legislation. We have other Caribbean islands: Antigua, St. Vincent, St. Lucia. Each Caribbean island has something to offer. You know, each Caribbean island has when I was in Dominica last year, and I was speaking to someone in the government and saying, listen, you have these famous, the hot springs. They have a section in Dominica where they just go up in the hills and they just have all these hot springs. You can pair that with a cannabis experience and create your own niche wellness tourism right there. And that would be unique to Dominica.
Yes,
and Jamaica, of course, as I mentioned earlier, they can do their own wellness tourism, but each Caribbean island, I believe, has something to offer. It's just going to require, US visionary thinking and good implementation.
Definitely, Mr. Flynn, it's a pleasure to have you on Heights again for season 2. And just as we wrap here with you, Mr. Flynn, we just want our listeners to know that, you can get Mr. Flynn's 3-part documentary on the cannabis industry in Jamaica on our YouTube channel and on our Facebook. It should be ready by tomorrow, so you will get a deep insight and see what the former chairman of the Jamaica Cannabis Licensing Authority has done in Jamaica. It's definitely a pleasure to have you on this episode of Heights.
All right, thanks, man.
Thank
Blessings.
you so much for being a part of the program.
Junior, Zach.
That's it, Mr. Flynn.
Nice, man.
Keep up the good work.
Nice to meet you, brother.
Keep up the good work.
All right, brother. So what we're going to do, of course, let's take in a little snippet of some music. It's all about the music because we have artists on the inside as well. We heard some Junior Kelly before. And Junior Kelly, it's your time to take in a little bit of Black Loyalty. Here's a track called Life.
This is love.
It's now time for Grow Gurus, y'all. We just heard Life by Black Loyalty, and he's still in studio with us. Zack is also in studio with us from Grow Antigua and Barbuda, and Reggae Royalty. The whole nine, I was going to say Black Loyalty, I say Loyalty, but Reggae Royalty is also in studio with us this evening. Junior Kelly is in the building. Thank you so much for joining us. But right now, though, as I said, we're getting ready to go into our Grow Guru segment. Derek, talk to us.
So today on the show, our Guru segment is basically we want to focus on nutrients for growing.
Right.
So, the great debate since, we had the criminalization and person started to grow is organic versus synthetic nutrients.
That's the age-old argument.
Yeah, which is better. Everybody, depending on your choice in nutrients along the line, would tend to have their own opinion on which is better. According to a mutual friend of ours, there's 600 different type of nutrients out there. Choose one. Mark, in your experience, what was it differences organic versus synthetic?
Obviously big differences. They both have their pros and cons, as I'm sure you're aware. Synthetics and stuff is great for weight, commercial production, consistency, sterility, them kind of things. Organics, however, you seem to get a flavor profile that you can't achieve with anything synthetic, in my opinion. Come pretty close with some good synthetic nuts. We both use quite a bit of stuff already, but nothing seems to really hit the taste buds like a proper organic brew.
So even if okay, so tell us the different types of nutrients. In terms of organics, there are liquid nutrients that you could buy, and then there are soil additives that you could add to the soil, and that's water, in pure water. I think that like, for instance, like one of our sponsors, 1212 Grow Shop, they have Gaia Green, which is very popular in Trinidad, based on YouTube videos. So tell us a bit more about the difference.
It's so easy to use. That is one of the biggest things. It's basically just add water. All those different organic nutrients that you're speaking of there, they basically do the same thing. They don't feed the plant. They feed the soil.
Exactly.
Your soil biology feeds the plant in turn. Really, the only differences you would have with liquids and dry powders and stuff is the breakdown time, the strength, obviously, depending on what you're using.
Because I found, I mean, in terms of my experience, sometimes with the chemical nutrients, it's easier to address a deficiency within the plant
Because you
quickly.
can do it right away.
Whereas, with the organics, it takes a while for the microbiology to break down the nutrients in order to feed the plant. So, if you have to address something now, it's quite difficult.
The nutrients are there, they have their properties, but with soil biology, you have a lot going on in the pot, and like we said, that soil is feeding.
Okay, so last week, some of our guests, from the old mansions, Bungarees were saying that, for sacramental use, you can't use any animal feces like manure, what we know as manure. I mean, in terms of, a lot of our growers out there would think that, okay, I have some soil in my yard there, I'm mixing a manure and sticking a seedling,
Right.
Will you say that's advisable for the cannabis plant? Because in my experience, cannabis is very sensitive. You would think that, everybody says it's a weed, but it tends to respond quite quickly to environmental stimulus.
It's really hard to undo some of that stimuli sometimes. My thing is no, I don't really like that. Like how you explained it, they stick it in a pot with some manure and stuff like that.
No, I mean, that's what generally thinking. What our persons who might not have any experience with cannabis or do any research might think.
It's a little more to it than that. You have to use the right proportions. You have to use the right things. You have to aerate your soil properly. It has to be draining properly. All those things to maintain that environment within the pot. When you grow in organics, that pot is very, very important. You have a lot going on inside there. That whole root zone, what some may know as the rhizosphere. There's a lot of biology that holds it together. The same biology that holds the entire earth together. We basically try to slim it down with our pot, and maintain that environment in it. That's not as easy to do as just add water. You could get away with a lot of things like, Gaia Green, things like that. But those are just made to simplify things for home growers, They take a lot of the guesswork out of it. Once you mix your soil properly and you follow the instructions, you're going to do pretty good.
All right, folks, so we're inside a segment right now brought to you with the kind compliments of 1212 Grow Company. If you want to grow high-quality plants, check out 1212 Grow Company. All right, at 103 St. Vincent Street in Port of Spain. Now, 1212 has grow tents, lights, AC Infinity fans, Athena, Fox Farm, Gaia Green, Mars Hydro, General Hydroponics, Soils, and Advanced Nutrients. 1212 is open from Mondays to Fridays between 10:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. On Saturdays from 10:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. You can give them a call as well at 267-6600. And, of course, today we give you, our listeners, a chance to win a Humboldt Nutrients 3-part basic starter kit that is worth over $850, courtesy of 1212 Grow Company. 624-105-623-5001. After our discussion this evening, we're going to give you a chance to answer a couple quick questions and win that set. Junior Kelly is smiling from ear to ear with that starter kit. I don't know if you know, I need to send him one over there in Jamaica. He's nodding away at that Humboldt Nutrients. I think he's looking for one of those. So, guys, let's continue with our conversation.
Yes,
Let me hear you.
I mean, in terms of our price, that's a chemical-based nutrient. Salts, as what people might know it as. In my experience, though, I mean, I prefer it because of the yields, the quick response time, the ease of mixing. I mean, with organics, is a lot of knowledge, trial and error, experience in terms of mixing and waiting. So, what are some of the considerations beyond that in terms of if you want to use like synthetic nutrients? I mean, for me, flushing is essential. Flushing is whereby before you harvest the plant, you flush the growing medium, whether it's a pot, but especially a pot, because if you're in the ground, it's going to be quite difficult. With a large amount of water in order to bring down the concentration of salts to almost zero to the level of water. I find that you get a cleaner smoke. Some people, but in the same breath that some people don't flush, and they
if you do it properly, you really will have a much cleaner smoke, and it goes back to where we have the control when we're using synthetics. You measure what's going in, you can measure what's coming out, you can dial in exactly how much your plant is feeding. You're not overloading your medium. You have total control when you're doing synthetics. Everything down to the pH. That's very, very crucial.
And to explain to our listeners who might not understand what pH is. pH is the acidity or alkalinity of anything. So lower pH is a scale of 0 to 14. The lower numbers more acidic, higher numbers more alkaline. Marijuana generally likes around 6. I would say
Slightly acidic.
Slightly more on the acidic side. It may depend on your medium. Last week we spoke about cocoa peat versus peat moss. With the cocoa peat, they like, the plants grown in cocoa peat like a little more acidic.
Right.
We could probably push 5.5.
Without getting too deep into things like cash and exchange and stuff like that, each medium will have its own properties. You have, you have preset specs for everything that you can start off with to run. Every plant is going to be different. Every growing environment is going to be different, obviously. But you start at those base numbers and you pretty much adjust to what you're growing. The adjustment period, it pretty much comes with experience, a careful eye, lots of research, and trial and error, like you said. The good thing with synthetics is that trial and error is a lot more forgiving. Like I said, you could flush out your pot, reset,
and start all over again.
With that, organics is not always that.
No, correct, because you have to wait for it to be broken down.
624-1005, 623-5001 as we're inside this segment with the kind compliments of 1212 Grow Shop that you can visit at 103C St. Vincent Street in Port of Spain. You can give them a call at 267-6600. Give us a call right now. Let's find out from you guys how much you have been paying attention to Heights, the program, so you can win this kit, all courtesy the 1212 Grow Shop right here on Slam 105 as we wait on those calls. Derek.
Yeah, so as a first time grower, with me and my friends anyway, we went to same 1212, check Derek. Any of the grow shops, 1212 is our sponsor, so we support them fully. Check them out on St. Vincent Street. But it's a little daunting sometimes. You see all these brands, Fox Farms by General Hydroponics, Humboldt. It's daunting. But in my experience, and I'm sure your experience too as well, Mark, they all pretty much do the same things. There's a lot of branding involved along the way.
Involved. Some of them have the specialty products that, work for different things for different people, but yes, they're basically all the same principle.
Yeah, so for those who might be be a little bit daunted, our advice is to visit one of these shops, one of these grow shops like 1212. Talk to the people there.
Talk to them. Derek is very knowledgeable, very, very helpful. We've been knowing Derek since decriminalization.
Yeah.
He's one of the first grow shops to really have variety and things we could choose from, and the knowledge to tell us, this is this, that is that.
Yeah, and trying is important. You don't need to have the largest budget. I've seen persons produce high quality
super, but on a very low
budget. So that's because the big brand, the box set is $2,000. So you can still do well with something that is much cheaper. But the key is to do your own research as well. Also, you can listen out to our Google segment for tips along the way. Please send us questions, call us to interact with us, to ask your questions. But generally, you have to give it a try. And you will find along the way what suits you, what suits your budget. What your expectations is, because some person might just be trying it for the first time, as opposed to somebody who wants to maximize their 4 plants to get the most out of it, so they could share with friends, or they could have a supply, so they wouldn't have to purchase in the black market, which still exists as it is right now.
All right, so we're inside the 1212 Grow Guru segment with Derek Achong and Mark Seabrand. They're giving us some serious knowledge on the inside here right now. So as I said before, Junior Kelly nodding his head all the way through, put a couple thumbs up in there when you heard a couple points like that. So that told me that you guys were on the right track. Because when you have Junior Kelly on the thing, as I say, we play boom draw and thing earlier on, so this man had to know what he's singing. So he's been here, Black Loyalty. You're also inside with us. How you feel about some of the stuff you would have heard here this evening from the guys in the segment?
Really, really interesting, very edifying conversation for the consumers who think marijuana is just about smoking. But hearing these guys speak, automatically I'm a broad thinker. I was thinking, so that why you don't make this a subject in school and have these men as teachers, for the youths and them who probably reach of age. They're using it regardless.
Yeah.
Rather than have them using it out of perspective with the right guidance, show them that, because they can't stop it.
Yeah.
We're living in the real world.
Yeah.
A lot of secondaries using marijuana, right? But they don't have knowledge of it. They don't know what it consists of, and probably they may be interested in growing it, because what I seen as a future of farms in Trinidad and Tobago, I seen it going there bit by bit.
Yeah.
The youths and them now going to have a place to work, who are unemployed, and this.
They might be less inclined to grow pumpkin and tomatoes in the hot sun, but because they have this inherent love of cannabis,
passion for it,
they might be more willing to try that. I agree
Exactly.
totally.
So make it a subject in school, you know, that you will understand it's a plant like other plants.
Derek and Mark, you'll have some work to do.
Definitely.
So this is Teacher Derek?
No, this is Teacher Derek and this is Teacher Mark.
Teacher Mark.
Zach and Junior Kelly, let me get a couple of words from you guys quickly because we're getting ready to wrap our program in a few minutes. And
Teacher Derek and Teacher Mark, I love it.
Yeah, Teacher Derek and Teacher Mark. Junior Kelly, what is your take on some of what you just heard there? They spoke about synthetics and these things, and I don't know how you feel about that on organics. Okay.
Yeah, well, synthetic, they made some serious point. I don't know if it's Mark or Derek, but when it comes on to consuming the synthetic, it's more scalable, but than organically grown cannabis. It's scalable in terms you can measure the amount. The approach is a little bit way more scientific, and you will get. And if you follow the procedures, you can get the exact result. They have it down to a science, basically. Farming is science, really. No, people don't put it in that bracket, but I think farming on a whole is science. So back to the point, organic or synthetic. Synthetic lose out when it comes down to flavor. Organic, and I think it was Teacher Mark who said that.
Teacher Mark.
That the organic have more flavor.
Yeah. And
you get more variety in flavor than synthetic. Synthetic has its place, as we say. It's more. You can measure it more. You understand? And one and one make two when it comes down to synthetic. It's easier to, and as you say, it's more forgiving. It's more forgiving when it comes on to the growing aspect of it. You get a certain result every time. Yeah. If the organic is not in precise environment and it take more care, you know what I mean, and so you will get the result, but it's one of them beautiful woman, if you use this metaphor, it's one of them beautiful woman that needs more maintenance. You know what I mean?
I'd love to throw my perspective in there because
Zach,
yes, please, Zach.
We actually have a question for you too as well.
Zach. We actually tend to grow only with OMRI certified products here at our farm. I mean, I used to sell all the stuff that you guys sell at 1212. Shout out to what you guys have done. I think you used to follow my page, We Dadly, when I was running We Dadly for a bit, and I followed you guys back.
Big up to 1212.
Yeah, big up to 1212 for sure. It's a great place to go and learn about the different products and learn about how they produce different types of cannabis. But on our farm, we put our customers and our products first. So we try to stick to OMRI certified only. It is much harder to scale. It's less forgiving in some senses, but you'd be surprised it is more forgiving in others where, dealing with microorganisms and living life, they work depending on the environment, life adapts. So you do see some forgivingness there. But definitely, I think, as we all determined, it comes to the flavor. That's one of the deciding factors. You see organic producing much better flavor, whiter smokes. You don't have issues where you run into flushing or nutrient lockout, which can be pretty hard for the home grower, even for the commercial growers on the farm. So I don't know. We stick organic. If it grows,
stick up in there right there. Stick up in there real quick. 1 second. Let's get a call. We got a call on the line. So let's see if we get that winner this evening on the program right now. Good evening. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, man. Good evening.
Good evening, sir. Are you ready to answer your question? All courtesy 1212 Grow Shop.
For sure.
For sure. In season one of Heights, we are in season 2 right now. Can you tell us 2 guests that appeared on season 1 of Heights for your over $850 worth of starter kit materials?
Wow. Faris Al-Rawi.
Faris Al-Rawi, very good. That's one.
Give me a second for the next one.
Give you a second for the next one, and there goes a second. Do you have the next one?
Not at the moment.
I'll give you a tip. He appeared in the show.
Tip.
2 of them appeared in the show today.
No tip.
Saboto Ceasar then.
He got it correct. He said Mr. Saboto Ceasar.
I heard him too. My God, he's excited. Okay, good. So here what you can do for me, please. We're going to take your information off here, right? Stay on the line. Let's take your information off here. Nice. Congratulations. He is a winner. All courtesy the 1212 Grow Shop, the iGrow Gurus. He just won himself over $850 worth of startup material, y'all. You can't go wrong. A humble nutrients 3-part.
That's a nice kit, Derek.
That's a really nice
kit. You ever use any Humble stuff? PPM's real low.
I never use the Humble, but I know about it. Humble County is a very popular county in cannabis production in California.
Yeah, Humboldt County. Big up the Humboldt
County.
One
question to Zack though. Yes. Zack, is it not more expensive to grow organically with the ORMI products compared to if you were to go the synthetic route, and you know how that would affect the consumer going forward? And to add to that question, you know, what is your general rate? I mean, for indoor grown cannabis by the gram in your company?
Right now we're in a small dispensary located in St. John's. We're selling about 12 pounds a month, and we only have about 1,100 registered cannabis patients. That's consumption-wise. We are producing a lot more. I mean, our harvests are 30, 40,000 gram harvests at a time.
Indoor or outdoor?
Combination. We have a few indoor rooms, and then we also have quite a few sun tunnels, all sun-grown, but obviously shielded from the environment. Not with the polyurethane, because here in the Caribbean, especially in Antigua, it's way too hot to use polyurethane, so we do have to use a mesh to keep the airflow up. But we try to protect the plants from the rain as much as possible, and we fight humidity a lot here, which is a really big thing to navigate. We don't have any seasonal light. We're about 12 hours all year round, so vegging requires additional light pretty much all year.
Same thing.
And we're fighting temperature, pests, all this sort of stuff. We've got so much neem trees growing here locally in Antigua, concentrated in a small area, that the neem products don't work because all the pests are immune to it.
I understand.
Well, you know what? I really want to thank you, Zack, for being a part of our program here this evening. You have brought so much to the show, and of course, I think we're going to have you on a second time because it's just about 8 p.m., which means it brings us to the end of our formal show. We have Junior Kelly. We can't run away just yet. Black Loyalty is here, so we can't run away just yet. So I think we're going to turn this into the Heights after party or something and get into a little bit more of the artists. But Zack, we really, really want to thank you for being on the program. Thanks for the invite. As much as we said we're going to be coming, and we're going to look forward to that.
Bless up, guys.
Also,
Grow Antigua welcomes everyone to Antigua. Junior Kelly, whenever you're ready to hit the stage here in Antigua, you got a big fan base, bro.
I'll come in there soon, Zack. We'll link up.
Nice, man.
Definitely.
I think what's going to happen, Zack, is Junior Kelly, the Heights team, we're all going to collaborate and maybe come at the same time and create something different, all right? That's going to be even bigger. Black Loyalty, I think, might have to be on that trip as well, too.
Definitely.
Mark,
good night, guys. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being on, Junior Kelly. You stick and stay. We're going to come back to you in a short, Mark. Thank you so much for being a part of the program. We're going to see you again come next Tuesday. Of course, look out for that Grow Guru segment. So this evening's topic with you guys was directly what again?
Organics versus synthetics.
Organics versus synthetics. Of course, Mark and Derek, teacher Mark and teacher Derek, according to Junior Kelly, they've just been dubbed that this evening. Thank you guys so much for being on the program. What I'm going to do, let me take in some of this planted right here, and we're going to come back with some more right here on